Welcome back, everyone. My name is Michelle, and this is Horror Book Hellhound. Honestly, you guys, I just need to vent. I just need to vent with y'all today. I am sorry if there's a lot of chaos in the background. I got a new puppy recently, and he has just been making himself at home, So I recently read Satan's Harvest, and now that is one of Ed and Lorraine Warren's books. Obviously, it was written and published by other people, but they are the ones who collaborated along with the people whose story they're telling in order to produce this novel. And can I just say that, I can't figure out for the life of me where the Warrens' books are supposed to be as far as genres. They are written like fiction. And I don't mean that they're written like fiction because of the content. Don't get me wrong, some of the content is a little hard for me to believe, but it's the writing itself, right? So the first ever Ed and Lorraine Warren book that I read was The Demonologist, and that book was written in more of a nonfiction tone. It was more of like a recounting of events from a real life perspective, and it was more interesting because of that. It was more believable because of that. It was almost written more like a true crime novel rather than a piece of fiction. But Satan's Harvest, which is actually the story of, what the fuck is his name? If you remember in the movie The Nun, which is part of the Conjuring universe, there is a character in that movie called Frenchie. They go on to tie this character in with the very first Conjuring movie. All of that is very fictional. Obviously, that was made for the movie, but the person himself, his actual name was Maurice, existed, and he had his own very harrowing tale to tell about demonic possession. Obviously, it was not quite as dramatic as the movies portrayed, and it did not end with him killing himself or his wife, as far as I know. But yeah, the way the book was written at certain points almost offended me on behalf of the real life people that they were speaking about. Now, supposedly, Maurice and his wife, which I want to say her name was Nancy, I don't remember. Supposedly, they actually collaborated with the Warrens while this book was being written, but I kind of find that a little hard to believe because at certain points in the novel, they start to talk about like a dream that Maurice had experienced, and maybe this is just me, but if someone is telling you details of a dream they experienced, why would you then add other details and flowery language in to try and like grasp at straws and make connections where there might not be any? You know what I mean? It was almost written like one of those true crime novels where the author is just like hell-bent on staking their claim of solving a cold case, and it's just kind of like, wow, dude, you're really grasping at straws right now. Like, where is your hard evidence? In particular, there was one point in this book where Maurice, like I said, was talking about a dream he had, and the author took a lot of liberties, or it seemed like the author took a lot of liberties with that dreamscape and just added all sorts of shit in there that I have there's nothing in me that believes that was actually what he told them about the dream. This book feels like a Hollywood movie. That's what it feels like. It doesn't feel like truth. It doesn't feel like it's coming from real life events. It feels like it's being fictionalized and just created like a Hollywood director is taking charge. And that just kind of pissed me off for some reason. Normally I can look past that. But this is the first Warren book that I've read that really made me feel this way, and I'm wanting to kind of go back and reread the ones that I have read, which are only two, to see if maybe I was just blinded by like being in love with the Warrens and like being kind of obsessed with their cases and stuff, or if maybe this book, the author that actually just wrote it for whatever reason, felt like being a flowery piece of shit. I said it. I said it. I told myself I wasn't ever going to be mean about a book, but the way this book, like, there were moments when they were talking about people, real life people who were actually murdered, and they were making assumptions and like building these scenes that no one knows if that actually happened. They were making assumptions about what a now deceased person, murdered person, was thinking in their last moments. And it pissed me off because like they were trying to like correlate this person's death specifically with the demonic possession, and maybe they're right. I mean, I'm not, who's to say? But when you go so far as to try to make us believe that this murder victim in her last moments while her husband is literally shooting at her, that she pieces all of these things together and suddenly just knows that it's a demon. I don't know, something about it just kind of like got me all feeling feisty and upset about it. I don't really know why. I don't really know why. This is an old book. This is an old case. It's nothing new. But it just kind of irked me. That whole situation just really irked me. So with that being said, I do have another of Ed and Lorraine Warren's books. I had planned on getting all of their books. This is the first book I've read that was kind of like written by them in a way that kind of pissed me off. The other two I actually enjoyed. So I am going to read the last book, which is called In a Dark Place. I am going to read that one and see if it kind of, you know, pisses me off again. If it pisses me off again, I'm probably not going to collect any more of their books just because I don't want to keep rereading these like fictionalized Hollywood scenarios. I just want to know real life events. I want to know the facts. I don't need the flowery language. I don't need any of that shit. You know what I mean? I just want to know what the fuck happened. With that being said, my rant is, you know, officially over, but I wanted to ask you guys, have any of you read any of Ed and Lorraine Warren's books? Or seen any cool documentaries about their cases, or listened to any podcasts? I have already listened to the Lights Out podcast, and they cover a lot of their cases in really interesting ways. So that would be cool to check out if you haven't already. But are there any books that you guys would recommend, either about the Warrens themselves or about their cases? I would prefer almost to read books about their cases that they had no hand in, just so I could get more of a true crime, like real life feel. You know what I mean? So yeah, I'm putting it in y'all's hands. Give me some recommendations for, you know, researching some of the Ed and Lorraine Warren cases. Some that are going to feel a little more real life and not so Hollywood. Be sure to leave those down in the comment section below. If you enjoyed today's video, I know it was a random rant, but here we are. Please hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, of course, and I will see you all in the next video. Peace out, hellhounds.